Okay, good evening. It is 5:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Remind everyone to please silence their phones, and if you would, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, would you take the roll, please, Chris?
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dalby.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from special meeting number 3 on January 14th, 2020. Regular meeting number 4 on January 21st, 2020. And special meeting number 5A on January 24th, 2020 as presented. Approve the rebuild, repair of one of the airport station pumps, flight model 3171 from Electric Pump in Des Moines, Iowa, for the quoted price of $10,708 for water pollution control facility. Resolution number 12, 2020, authorizing the destruction of certain records according to the Code of Iowa 2015 as amended and the Iowa Municipal Records Retention Manual. Resolution number 26, 2020, setting March 17th, 2020 as the date of a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 319 West 5th Street. Beer and/or liquor applications for Cedar Creek Golf Course at 13120 Angle Road with outdoor service area, Hy-Vee Wine and Spirits at 2453 North Court, Albia Road BP at 1340 Albia Road, North Court BP at 1301 North Court, Pennsylvania and Jefferson BP at 1147 North Jefferson, West 2nd and McPherson BP at 1049 West 2nd, all applications pending final inspections.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes. Okay, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes. Okay, and at this time, I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to Interim City Administrator Lazio for his report to council.
Thank you. I just want to make you as a council aware that we are planning a trip to Washington, D.C. in the month of March. We've made arrangements already for contact with Senators Grassley, Ernst, and Representative Loebsack. We also have appointments with the EPA and the APWA. We'll probably be taking our new administrator, Mr. Rath, myself, Councilman Dalby and Councilman Rowe, and City Public Works Director Larry Seals to visit with these folks and to lay some groundwork for funding and for future grants. It's been a number of years since we've been to DC, and we've had contact with our officers, and they're looking forward to having us come and give them an update on our combined sewer project, and also to look for funding for other projects. So just wanted you to be aware of that. We're looking at the week of March 9th at this point. The second item, some time ago, I handed out goal sheets to all the council, and would like to ask that you look at those over again and be as specific as you can underneath each of the major items. I'll be working with Mr. Roth, our new, hopefully new future administrator, and he and I have been in contact about goals and directions, and he would like some ideas of more specific items under those goal sheets. So if you can get those back to me in the next week, I'd appreciate that. And add any comments you want to at this point. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lazio. Okay, we'll move on down to the part of the meeting where we will identify citizens that wish to address or comment on agenda items. If you wish to do so, please grab a sheet there on the railing, fill that out, and then get that to our staff here, one of our staff members at the table here, which will get their attention and get that to our city clerk. And then we will call you up when that item comes up for discussion. Okay, moving on down to departmental recommendations.
Recommendation on the National Register eligibility for the nomination of Agassiz School located at 608 East Williams in Ottumwa, Iowa for the National Register of Historic Places. Recommendation, approve the recommendation and authorize the mayor pro tem to sign the CLG National Register Nomination Evaluation Report Form.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, and somebody want to take this one? Kevin, you got this one? Okay, Health and Planning Director Kevin Flanagan, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I didn't know if you'd have any questions about this. Our historic board's been working on it for quite some time. And of course, Agassiz School will be put in by our developer, Mr. Jim Danaher, next year's cycle for tax credits for a housing project on that site. So he's really excited about that. And this, of course, would help that project along quite well.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this one? It's not a new item. Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bid review and contract award for asbestos removal and demolition of 119 North Ward. Recommendation, accept bid and award contract for asbestos removal and demolition and disposal of the structures located at 119 North Ward to Weston McKee of Fairfield, Iowa, in the amount of $16,600.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Kevin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bids for this project were accepted until 2 p.m. on January 28, 2020. 6 bids were received. The best bid was submitted by Weston McKee in the amount of $16,600. Staff recommends awarding him the contract.
Okay. Any questions on this item for Kevin? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Approval of collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, and the Ottumwa Association of Professional Firefighters, Local 395, International Association of Firefighters, representing City Fire Department employees commencing on July 1, 2020, and continuing through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the Mayor Pro Tem to sign the agreement. Recommendation, approve collective bargaining agreement by the parties effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the Mayor Pro Tem to sign the agreement.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, City Attorney Joni Keith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. City's negotiated a 4-year agreement with the fire union. First-year wage will be increased to 3.25%, and the following 3 years will be 2% each year. In addition, there were some minor language changes. The dues deductions was a prohibited item now under state law, and that was removed. There will be an 11th holiday provided, which is in line with all of the other unions and personnel for the City of Ottumwa. I've attached the proposed contract that you have. This proposal has been ratified by the union membership, and we were able to come to a resolution of this a couple days before the mediation that was scheduled. So I'd be glad to answer any questions you would have.
Okay, questions? Councilman Myers.
Yes, and thank you, Attorney Keith. I spoke with Joni this morning because I did have a couple of questions on this. And I think, let me just repeat what I thought you said. So as far as our various unions, public safety by the legislature and everything is dealt with a little differently than the others. And since we did do the police a year or two ago, then the 3.25 brings the fire union into compliance or into the same situation. I asked
Similar,
about,
yes. Well, because they've created 2 categories of employees, public safety versus all other employees, union employees. So there's different ground rules for each of the unions now. The other issue was when you look at our comparable cities with the fire contract, their wages were slightly below. And then when you also, the state requires us to look at internal comparisons within the public safety bargaining groups. And based upon the wage that was given to police in January of 2019, that was an issue that was brought before us as well. So that's why we needed to negotiate a slightly higher percentage increase than we did for other employee union groups.
And that was for the 1 year on, first year or the 4 year? And then
First year.
the remaining 3, they will be at 2% like everybody else?
Which will be in line with I've negotiated 6 contracts now, and every one of them has the 2% per year for a 4-year, total
Okay.
4-year contract.
Yes. And then the 11th holiday brings them in with everybody else. The one that I still maybe not real clear on, the other change was, it used to be that they, off-duty firemen had to be within 10 miles.
Their residents had to be within 10 miles of the North Fire Station,
And now they've asked for it to be moved to 30. I wasn't real sure why.
30 miles per hour.
No, 30 miles.
Or I'm sorry, 30 miles
Is it
from.
miles or minutes?
Yeah, 30 miles from the North Fire Station.
Okay.
And they did request that. We do have some firefighters that live close to Albia or no, not at this point in time. But there's a possibility they could move, and they want that flexibility. There is no residency requirement for the police department either.
And that's an off-duty fireman
Correct. Or, yeah.
that would be called?
Sure.
Bob, a lot of your fire departments around the state are going to no residency requirement because they have a hard time getting people hired to stay where they are. So this is not uncommon for this thing to be changed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet. Thank you, Councilman Myers. Are there any other questions on this contract? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Approval of collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa, Iowa and the Teamsters Local 238 representing Public Works, Parks, Airport, and Cemetery employees, commencing July 1, 2020, and continuing through June 30th, 2024, and authorizing the Mayor Pro Tem to sign the agreement. Recommendation: approve the collective bargaining agreement by the parties effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the Mayor Pro Tem to sign the agreement.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, John, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. This too is a 4-year contract, and it's 2% each year of the contract. Because the legislature created 2 different class of employees, there were some mandatory items that were required by state law to be removed from the contract. Those include our health insurance, IPERS retirement, dues deductions, and bidding transfer procedures. And we negotiated that the health insurance, the IPERS retirement, and the bidding transfer procedures they're removed from our contract, but they will be placed within our personnel policies. And I'll probably get those done sometime in March and present those to you for review, or to department heads first and then to council for review. But we will be putting those in the personnel policies. That was part of our agreement with the union when those were removed. The only exception is dues. Dues deductions will no longer be done by the city. This was I'm not sure all of our union employees are real happy about it, but we did keep everything. All of the other benefits are still in their union contracts. Under state law, we could have gutted those contracts. We chose not to do that. We chose to leave those benefits within that contract. So that's part of how it was negotiated the way it was. I'll be glad to answer any questions you would have.
Joni, I got a quick question, then I'll move to Councilmember Rowe here.
Mhm.
The items that were removed, with the exception of the dues checkoff, which we know was not removed and stayed the same. The other items that were removed and put in that policy book, those items stayed exactly as they were. They just shifted to the policy book.
They may be slightly different wording in there, but they should be virtually the
same.
same. We're not changing their health
Okay.
insurance
Right, right.
benefit. And we're-
That's what I meant.
And state law requires IPER's retirement.
Right, right.
The bidding transfer, I've got to be able to, the contracts are all slightly different on transfer procedures. So I've got to incorporate that between all of the different unions,
Sure.
particularly the Muni contract and the PW contract. So, but I'll get that language out to department heads to review and out to my union representative to review as well. And this, particularly one steward, I think several stewards are interested in reviewing some of that as well. And I'll
So-
be glad to share it with them.
So basically, those policies are basically copy and pasted from the contract to a policy book.
Pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Rowe.
Specific to the health insurance, do you know the logic behind why the state required the removal of that? Was it ACA or is it just something that they?
It doesn't have anything to do with the Affordable Care Act, I don't believe. I think maybe school districts, some municipalities felt that was an item that shouldn't be negotiated because it's such an expensive item to that employer. And I'm just speculating on what the state legislators were thinking on that. But they, obviously that puts the city in a better position on determining what those benefits will be. Okay. And making changes on a health insurance contract. Right now we're self-funded, but we contract with Blue Cross, Wellmark Insurance to be able to administer that program. And those costs do increase from time to time. And sometimes those costs, we absorb those costs, and sometimes the employees help absorb those costs too. But right now they pay 10% of the premium for their health insurance, and the city pays 90%. And I don't foresee that changing in the next 4 years because that is negotiated within the police contract and the fire contract.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember
Joni, I've
Stevens.
talked to you about it. Would you explain why the city is not going to handle those union deductions?
Well, first of all, we don't have to by state law. And the second, I don't recommend we get into the middle of dues deductions between our employees and the union. Once in a while, there's a little bit of a tussle between an employee that wants to no longer be a member of the union, and they have to get something in writing from the union allowing us to stop that deduction on their paycheck. And so there can be some hard feelings there between maybe the union and the employee and us. So we're out of the middle. That's going to be directly between the employee and the union. So that's my recommendation, is we really don't want to be in the middle of that.
It just seems like it's going to be a big pain for the various departments to do this, but that's
No,
just
the
my opinion.
departments aren't doing it. This is
the union.
between the employee and their union.
Right, but somebody, I don't know how they're going to gather this money and send it in, but it seems to me like it's going to be a pain, but that's just my opinion.
And that's what the legislature did.
Okay,
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
anybody else have any questions on this item?
Yes, sir.
Bob?
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. And I'll probably confuse the issue a little bit, but it was my understanding with collective bargaining that part of the change was there were certain items that were always mandatory. There were some that were permissive.
Correct.
And so the city, the schools no longer have to do a certain thing according to health. But by being, if the term is still permissive, you work together. And we have good employees and we have good contracts. And so one of the rationale of us not switching or changing any of those was in working close with our employees.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we wanted to be fair to our employees. If we had wanted to gut their contracts, the only item that they would really be negotiating would be their wage. So it'd be basically a one-page contract.
Okay.
So we chose not to go that direction.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Approval of collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa, Iowa and the Teamsters Local 238, representing municipal employees commencing July 1, 2020 and continuing through June 30th, 2024, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Recommendation: approve the collective bargaining agreement by the parties effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the mayor pro tem to sign said agreement.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay. And once again, Jen, did you have any comments on this one?
No, the comments that I made regarding the Public Works contract is identical to the Muni contract. We did exactly the same thing with that union.
Okay.
And we'll mention one other thing on both of those contracts. Well, all of our contracts, frankly, we could have required a recertification election to occur for each of those unions. And in good faith, to promote harmony and negotiation, we chose not to do that. So that was another benefit to the union, that we're trying to keep the doors open to do the best we can for our employees. So that's the only other thing I would add.
Certainly. Councilmember Rowe.
So just forward looking, is that something that the unions are going to be want to consider for before they go to the next contract as a recertification?
Sure. That will be a decision the city will need to make in 4 years, whether we're going to require them to do. And it's our election to do that, to require them to have that certification election.
Okay, and I would assume that we're going to give them plenty of notice to do that if we do elect to do that.
Absolutely. There's a process set out by the PERB board and deadlines that are set. And I think it's the end of August of the year before the contract expires.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 102 North Ransom in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city accepted bids on this property until 2 p.m. on January 28th, 2020. 6 bids were received, and the best bid was from Garrett Crosby in the amount of $10,500.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If anybody wants to address this item, now is the time to step forward and do so. Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 7, 2020, accepting the bid and approving the sale of Lot 51 and Block 6 and R.S. Smith's third addition to Pickwick, now in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa, also known as 102 North Ransom, to Garrett Crosby for the sum of $10,500. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 7, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendations presented.
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please, Chris. There's no further questions.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing for approving fiscal year 21 maximum property tax dollars.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Finance Director Kayla Mulder, you have the floor.
Good evening. Resolution number 14, 2020, Iowa law requires the city council to hold a public hearing on the proposed maximum property tax dollars before adopting the city budget. The rate of 19.3749429 is the maximum levy for affected property taxes for the city of Ottumwa. I do want to explain further that this rate does not include levies for debt service, support of the library, the SMIDs, or for the property. This would be a total for property tax levies at 23.13788. Our current rate is at 22.4565, and we hope that before certifying the budget that we'll be closer to our current rate than what you're adopting tonight for the maximum tax levy rate. Any questions?
Okay. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody that wishes to address this item, now is your time to step forward and do so. Okay, seeing none, I guess I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
yes.
Resolution number 14, 2020, approving the maximum property tax dollars for fiscal year 2021. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 14, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now are there any questions for Kayla by the council on this kind of a new deal this year? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2020 Ottumwa Street reconstruction project.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Public Works Director Larry Seals, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consists of 430 foot of full-depth, full-width PCC reconstruction, including water main replacement and relocation. The project includes the installation of 4 intakes and a separate storm line that will connect to the Phase 4 sewer project. This section of Ottumwa Street is the primary access to the new Washington apartment complex. The developer for Washington Apartments has contributed $45,000 for the reconstruction. Ottumwa Water Works will reimburse the city for the cost of the water main installation. Project fund balance will be funded from the expanded street repair balance. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on February 25th, 2020. The bid report and bid award recommendations will be presented at the city council meeting on March 3rd, 2020. Construction on this project is expected to commence early spring 2020 and has 35 working days. We did a little video for you can kind of see the project area. For anybody that has been up there, they can see there was quite a bit of cut done on this project, and the overlay on an existing brick and the brick street itself simply didn't hold up to that type of traffic. The starting point was just the line that popped up momentarily. We come up around, and then we put a line approximate end, which is we wanted to pick up the last of the intakes and actually separate this volume from the sanitary sewer. So here pretty quick, just a quick line. That's real representative of where the end of the project. So that gives you kind of a visual scope of the length of that project. And again, that is the primary entrance for that new apartment complex.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If anybody in the audience has any questions regarding this item, now is your time to please step forward and address those. Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 20, 2020, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2020 Ottumwa Street reconstruction project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 20, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions for Larry regarding this item? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 16, 2020, authorizing the mayor pro tem to execute an agreement with the Iowa DOT to maintain the Milner Street multi-use trail. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 16, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
So
Move.
move.
Second.
Okay, Larry, you have the floor.
The city, in conjunction with the Wapello County Trails, was successful in securing a TAP grant to install a multi-use trail, safe route to school on Milner Street from Mary Street north to Richmond Avenue. This corridor has been identified as a connecting route in the Ottumwa Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan to help connect the school system and southern residential areas to the greater Ottumwa Park system. The proposal includes the installation of an 8-foot wide, it's 4,150 feet long, multi-use PCC trail sidewalk. This trail would be designed to current design standards, meeting all of the ADA requirements. As a designated trail, the city would be responsible for snow removal. This project will be let separately from the Milner Street project, and by design follow the street construction. So after the street construction is completed. During the street project, the grade for and handicap drops will be installed to allow the trail construction at a later date. This agreement outlines funding match requirements, which is 80-20, design standard requirements, and maintenance and obligation requirements. As is standard in these types of agreements, the city is required to maintain the improvement for a 20-year period from the date of completion. The project construction is estimated at $377,169. The local match of 20% will be provided by Wapello County Trails Group.
Okay, are there any questions for Larry? Comments?
I have a question, sir.
Sure, Councilman Stevens.
Larry, I noticed in there that it's up to the city to keep this sidewalk clean. That's almost a mile of walk. Which department's going to be responsible for that?
That would fall under the Parks Department. The thing about that, Skip, it's very similar to the one we put along the hospital corridor. It's designed 6 inches thick. It has rebar on edges and center line for we can put heavier equipment on it, either mowers with brooms, but that is a requirement.
Wow. And as few people as they have. Okay.
Well, it doesn't really specify that you have to do the full 8 feet, but you're supposed to do it as ownership. I don't think you'd probably want to try to put that on the homeowner being 8 feet wide.
No, I don't think so either.
Yes, Councilman Myers.
Well, I want to say thank you to the Trails Committee. And as you pointed out, Larry, 8 foot wide is like from Ottumwa Regional Hospital out almost to Hutchinson. So that's a nice width for people to use. And one of the major purposes was schools and residents from Mary south all the way to Richmond gives them that kind of access into greater Ottumwa Park.
It's part of the long-range plan. If you look at the trails plan, if you think about it, Wapello Street Extension had no access point to the park. There was kind of a beaten path along what is the old Kentucky Fried Chicken or the ferry where it transitions into Wapello Street Extension. We designed that project with enough shoulder to put a trail when we get a future grant that will actually give the connectivity from the residential and the schools. Again, we wanted to reach back to Mary. You've got a couple schools that feed along Mary into that, but it'll give it kind of a backbone to allow that pedestrian bike. One of the things and one of the concessions that we did do, instead of the standard 10-foot wide, we went to the 8-foot multi-use just to reduce the footprint, the cost, and overall maintenance for us. But we're required to maintain that too. So when it has any issues, if there are heaving problems or settlement problems, that will be the responsibility of the city and not the adjacent property owner.
But if I could also, in the future then, since we have Eisenhower School and Horseman out North Court, and North Court's so dangerous to bike on, the Trails Group, that'd be a project.
There are trails listed along that corridor. The thing is that typically a trail does not drive the street project. It's the source of funding, the condition, the sewer, the separation. There's a lot of different things that come into that in trying to determine how you program the replacement schedule.
It's not a very safe area to bike. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll add a comment to that. This is a great project, one that's really needed. And again, thanks to the Wapello County Trails. That is fantastic. Of course, I'm a trails fan too, not only for biking, but for expanding our trails in the city and adding that safe part for our students in schools. So this is something I totally back and appreciate you working on this and getting this done. So hats off to that. So very good project. So with that, is there any other questions or comments on this project? Okay, would you take the roll, please, Chris?
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 21, 2020, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2019 RFP number 2, Benton Brick Sewer Repair Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 21, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
There were 4 repairs to be made under this contract. One large void existed in the floor of the main brick teardrop sewer under Benton Street. One large void existed where the intersecting brick sewer met with the main brick sewer on Benton. 2 smaller voids were required to be repaired and were in the walls of the main teardrop sewer. All repairs were made with Super M4. Change order 1 increases the contract amount by $944 for additional repairs, bringing the total contract amount to $8,930. The contractor has completed the above reference work according to the request for proposals, and this will authorize change order 1, release all retainage and final payment.
Okay, any questions or comments on this item? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes. Thanks, Larry.
Resolution number 23, 2020, authorizing the city to enter into a bond and disclosure council engagement agreement with Allers and Cooney PC for the proposed issuance of bonds, notes, or other obligations, and authorize the Director of Finance to sign same. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 23, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Finance Director Kayla Mulder, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. As bond counsel, Allers will give us their bond opinion and help with compliance regarding applicable laws relating to the bonds. They will also be our disclosure counsel in accordance to Iowa federal law relating to disclosure requirements that pertain to government debt obligation.
Okay, questions, comments? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2020, set February 18th, 2020 as a date for a public hearing on the proposition to authorize a loan agreement and the issuance of not to exceed $19 million general obligation and refunding capital loan notes of the City of Ottumwa, State of Iowa for essential corporate purposes and providing for publication of notice thereof. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 24, 2020.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Kayla, you have the floor.
Thank you. A public hearing is required by law for the issuance of GO debt. This is a combination of new money, about $15.1 million for the Division 1 sewer CSO project, and about $3.9 million current refunding of the city's 12/30 of 2013 and 4/1 of 2012 GO capital loan notes. Prior bond average interest rate of 3.2% up to 4% compared to new rates of the 2% would be favorable for the city on this refinance.
Okay, questions? Okay, take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 25, 2020, authorize the hiring of Philip Rath as the city administrator effective February 17th, 2020, and authorize Mayor Pro Tem to sign the employment agreement on behalf of the city. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 25, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, City Attorney Joni Keith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. City staff has been negotiating a possible employment contract with Philip Rath, one of 2 candidates for city administrator who were interviewed during open session on January 25, 2020. Staff is recommending a conditional offer of employment be provided to Mr. Rath, subject to the completion of the final background screen, which has been completed and given to council now. but we still have his pre-employment physical and drug screen that would need to be completed. So it would be subject to that. The proposed employment agreement is attached to, as part of your staff summary. Mr. Rath's starting salary would be $125,000 for the first of a 2-year employment agreement. The City Council and Mr. Rath will develop a set of 5 goals for him to complete within 6 months. If he is successful, the salary will increase by $6,000. Thereafter, 5 additional goals will be developed and mutually agreed to, resulting in an additional $6,000 increase at the end of the first year of his employment, which will bring him to a wage of $137,000. Thereafter, the wage will be negotiated by council. After the initial 2-year period, the agreement will be automatically renewed as mutually agreed by the parties, with the wage negotiated during an annual performance evaluation. His benefit package is set out in the agreement, which includes 4 weeks of vacation, of which 80 hours will be banked, and an initial bank of 40 hours of sick leave. Mr. Rath will receive up to $7,500 in moving and relocation expenses, and his benefit package is comparable to the majority of city employees. Mr. Rath has a bachelor's degree in economics with an emphasis in politics and government. He has a master's degree in public administration, and he has 15 years of experience in the field of public administration. So our recommendation by staff is that you approve the employment agreement. We are looking at a possible start date of February 17, 2020, with the possibility he might be able to get here maybe part of next week as well to get him started. So that's a little bit sooner than we had expected, and that's a plus for the city. I'd be glad to entertain any questions you would have.
Okay, are there any questions for Joni on this item? Last opportunity. It's a big
Going,
vote.
gone.
That's right. It's a big vote. Okay. Go ahead and take the roll, please, Chris.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes. Okay. No ordinances. This is the time of the meeting where we will ask anyone if there's anything they would like to address the council on that is not on the agenda. So if there's anyone that wants to address the council for any reason whatsoever, this is your time to go and address us and do so. So seeing that there are none, we'll move on down to petitions and communications. So City Administrator Lazio, I know you have a few things for us.
You made my day tonight. Thank you very much,
You bet.
Mayor. I just want to make a couple of comments. This weekend, I had the opportunity to participate in the Senior High Music Festival, and I think the public should be aware that we have an outstanding school program for our middle school. Pam DeVore worked with our middle school students, and Troy Gerleman. They just get so much out of these kids, and it's just really neat to go to a performance and see them be so excited and do such a great job, especially this winter when they had some cancellations due to bad weather and fog and so forth. And then Dennis Vasquez, who does the Sudden Impact music group, just outstanding performance by our kids. And I think it's one of those things we take for granted, but these are young people who are going to be future leaders in our community, and they were just so impressive. And they're starting their tour, and their marketing where they go out to the different schools and performances. And I think our kids are going to do quite well this year. So again, I encourage you any chance to have to go see them. Next, I'd like to mention that I'd like to recognize former City Finance Director Bob Jay, and especially our interim director, Christy McDowell. We received our audit, and we have a clean audit, but important for you to know, we received a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and that's a comprehensive from the Government Finance Officers Association. It's pretty impressive that we got that, and again, good work from our city staff. I might mention that also this past week, we had the chance to visit with Mr. Robert Fagan. Bob is a personal friend and was the city finance director in Des Moines. He stopped in and spent some time with Kayla and me, and he's going to come back at the end of the month. And a very quick glance of our budget and our project. He was very complimentary towards Kayla and the things that she's prepared. And I think having a set of outside eyes look at this will help us all. So we'll be doing that in the next 10 days. February 12th, the Make Ottumwa Shine Committee is meeting here at City Hall. And, you know, when you're in the winter months, it's hard to think about being outside collecting and making the community look good. But I would encourage anybody that's interested to come and participate, room 108, and be a part of the community cleanup and making our community shine. So February 12th. This week, we will be losing a longtime employee, Julie Jolly, who I think of Julie McConnell. But anyway, Julie is going to be leaving the city after 19 years of experience. And needless to say, that's caused us a little bit of scare and fright because she is the payroll clerk. And everybody appreciates her work. And I think we have a plan in place that will replace Julie, and it has opened up some things that we were not aware of before. So Kayla and Julie and Mary and the gals in the finance department are really working hard at redefining that position. And we're going to be doing some upgrade on our Cronus program, which will help our payroll process in the long run. And then last, this evening, I will be, along with Councilman Dalby and Councilman Myers, attending a development meeting. I hope to be able to give you some additional information next council meeting as we look at some options for improving some things on the riverfront and downtown. And I want to assure people that we've had a question about our levee system, and we are in the process of working on that. And feel like we're going to be able to meet the Corps of Engineers and FEMA's requirements. We have until 2023 to get that completed, and we have started today with an outline of what needs to be done, and FEMA was very helpful. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to respond to anything. Otherwise, thank you.
Okay, that's good information. Okay, anybody else on the council have anything for the good and welfare? Okay, seeing none, I'd go ahead and at this time entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
yes. Okay, good evening and good night. It's 6:17.